As one of the most influential sitcoms of the 1980s, The Cosby Show broke new ground in television, portraying the lives of the Huxtable family with warmth, humor, and important life lessons. The series became a cultural phenomenon, thanks to its talented cast who brought these beloved characters to life. However, over the years, many of the actors who contributed to the show's success have sadly passed away. In this tribute, we honor 42 actors from The Cosby Show who have tragically died, remembering their contributions, careers, and the lasting impact they left on audiences worldwide. Earle Hyman, best known for playing Russell Huxtable in The Cosby Show, 1984, was a man of immense talent but lived a life of solitude. A classically trained actor with a deep love for Shakespeare, he spent much of his career in theater, earning widespread acclaim for his performances. Despite his success, he never married and had no children, dedicating his life entirely to his craft. He found solace in Norway, where he bought a home and often retreated to escape the pressures of Hollywood. His financial stability allowed him to live comfortably, with an estimated net worth of $5 million at the time of his death. His assets included his Norwegian property and a valuable collection of rare books and manuscripts. In later years, he moved to the Lillian Booth Actors Home in Englewood, New Jersey, where he spent his final days in relative obscurity. He passed away peacefully on November 17, 2017, at the age of 91 due to natural causes. Michelle Thomas, who played Justine Phillips in 1988, had a bright future ahead of her before tragedy struck. A young, vibrant actress with undeniable charm, she was best known for her roles in The Cosby Show and Family Matters. Her personal life remained mostly private, though she was romantically linked to high-profile figures in the entertainment industry. Unfortunately, her rising career was abruptly halted when she was diagnosed with a rare form of stomach cancer. Despite undergoing aggressive treatments, her condition worsened, and she spent her final months in and out of the hospital. At the time of her death, she did not have significant financial assets, as her focus had been on her career rather than accumulating wealth. Her estate consisted mainly of personal items, cherished by her grieving family. Her death at the age of 30 on December 23, 1998, left fans and colleagues devastated, as she had so much life left to live. Clarice Taylor, who portrayed Anna Huxtable in 1985, was a talented actress whose journey in Hollywood was marked by both triumph and hardship. She had a long and respectable career in television and theater, but financial security always seemed just out of reach. Though she brought warmth and wisdom to her roles, her personal life was filled with challenges. She was married, but her union was reportedly strained, and she spent much of her later years alone. She did not accumulate substantial wealth, though she owned a modest home and a few valuable personal belongings. Her health began to decline in her 80s, leading to frequent hospitalizations. Despite her contributions to the entertainment industry, she did not receive the widespread recognition she deserved in her later years. She spent her final days in Englewood, New Jersey, where she succumbed to congestive heart failure on May 30, 2011, at the age of 93. Merlin Santana, who played Stanley in 1991, had a career filled with promise but was tragically cut down in his prime. A former child actor, he had successfully transitioned into more mature roles and was working hard to solidify his place in Hollywood. However, he faced immense personal struggles, including false accusations that severely impacted his mental and emotional well-being. His love life was turbulent, and he often spoke about the difficulties of finding genuine relationships in the industry. He had modest financial success, but his estate was not particularly large, consisting of personal belongings, some savings, and investments in his career. On the night of November 9, 2002, his life came to a horrifying end when he was ambushed and shot in Los Angeles. He was just 26 years old, and his murder sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, serving as a grim reminder of the dangers young stars sometimes face. Danny Kaye, who appeared as Dr. Burns in 1986, was a beloved entertainer with a dazzling career, yet his personal struggles cast a shadow over his success. His role in The Cosby Show was a brief moment in a career that included music, comedy, and humanitarian work. While adored by audiences, his personal life was less harmonious. His marriage to Sylvia Fine, though lasting, was often described as turbulent, with long periods of separation and reported tension over his extramarital affairs. The couple had one daughter, Dina, but Kaye's relentless career often took precedence over his family life. Financially, he fared better than many, amassing an estate worth approximately $10 million, including a lavish Beverly Hills home and a collection of classic cars. However, his final years were plagued by declining health due to hepatitis C, which led to severe heart complications. On March 3, 1987, at the age of 76, Kaye passed away from heart failure. Rosalind Cash, who played Dr. Hughes in 1986, was a groundbreaking actress who fought tirelessly against Hollywood's racial and gender barriers, but her life was filled with struggles that often went unnoticed. Though her role in The Cosby Show was small, it was part of a career that defied expectations for black actresses in her era. Cash never married and had no children, choosing independence over traditional family life. She lived in a modest Los Angeles home, her most prized possessions being her collection of art pieces that reflected her deep appreciation for culture and activism. Financially, she never achieved great wealth, with her estate valued at only around $500,000. She faced significant hardships, including Hollywood's reluctance to cast black women in leading roles, which limited her career opportunities. In her later years, she was diagnosed with cancer, which she endured privately while continuing to work. On October 31, 1995, at the age of 56, she succumbed to the disease. Dizzy Gillespie, who portrayed Mr. Hampton in The Cosby Show, 1984, was not just an actor but a legendary jazz musician whose life was filled with both triumph and personal struggles. His influence on music was unparalleled, but behind the scenes, he faced financial difficulties and struggled with the pressures of fame. Though married to Lorraine Willis, their relationship was complex, as he was often away on tour. He had no children, which he later regretted, feeling that he had missed out on a more grounded personal life. Despite his success, he was not as wealthy as one might expect, with his estate valued at approximately $1.5 million, consisting of a home in Englewood, New Jersey, and a collection of priceless musical instruments. His final years were marked by a painful battle with pancreatic cancer, during which he continued to play music whenever he could. His estate was distributed among family members, with significant contributions to music education programs. He passed away on January 6, 1993, at the age of 75. Lynne Thigpen, known for her role as Mrs. Hudson in 1991, was an exceptionally talented actress whose life was cut tragically short. Despite her acclaim in film, television, and theater, financial success remained elusive, and she was never able to fully enjoy the wealth that should have accompanied her long career. She never married, and though she had close friendships, her personal life was often lonely, dedicated almost entirely to her work. She had no children, which added to her sense of isolation in her later years. One of her greatest struggles was the industry's failure to recognize the full depth of her abilities, as she was often relegated to supporting roles despite her immense talent. Additionally, she faced persistent health problems that she largely kept private. Her sudden passing from a cerebral hemorrhage on March 12, 2003, at the age of 54, and her modest estate, consisting mainly of personal belongings and professional memorabilia, was left without a direct heir. Roscoe Lee Browne, who played Dr. Barnabas Foster in 1986, was a man of immense intelligence and sophistication, yet his personal life remained a mystery. With a deep, commanding voice, he became a sought-after actor, but off-screen, he was reserved and intensely private. Never married and with no known children, Browne's romantic life was often the subject of speculation, though he never publicly confirmed any relationships. He was financially secure, owning a comfortable home in Los Angeles and an extensive collection of rare books, poetry, and art. His career spanned decades, and he was respected for his eloquence and talent. However, in his later years, he faced a private battle with stomach cancer, choosing not to disclose his illness to many. He continued to work despite his condition but grew increasingly reclusive as his health declined. On April 11, 2007, at the age of 84, he succumbed to the disease. Elaine Stritch, who portrayed Mrs. McGee in 1989, was a Broadway powerhouse with a razor-sharp wit and a larger-than-life presence. Though The Cosby Show was just a small part of her vast career, it added to her television legacy. Stritch was known for her no-nonsense attitude and brutally honest approach to life, including her struggles with alcoholism, which she battled for decades. She married actor John Bay in 1973, but their union was childless, and his death left her deeply heartbroken. Despite her enormous success, she often spoke of loneliness and regret, particularly about not having children. Financially, she was well off, with an estate valued at approximately $20 million, which included her elegant home in Birmingham, Michigan, a collection of luxury cars, and Broadway memorabilia. In her final years, she lived in semi-retirement, openly expressing her frustration with aging and declining health. On July 17, 2014, at the age of 89, she passed away in her home due to natural causes. Ethel Ayler, who portrayed Carrie Hanks in The Cosby Show, 1984, was a highly respected actress who dedicated her life to the stage and screen. Despite her extensive body of work, she never achieved widespread fame, often finding herself relegated to supporting roles. Hollywood's limited opportunities for older black actresses meant that her career, while steady, was never as financially rewarding as it should have been. She never married and had no children, devoting herself entirely to her craft. Though she owned a modest home and had personal savings, her financial situation was never particularly strong. In her later years, she lived a quiet life away from the spotlight, with little public recognition for her contributions to the entertainment world. She passed away on November 18, 2018, at the age of 88. The cause of her death was never publicly disclosed, but her passing marked the end of a career that, while underappreciated, was filled with artistic integrity and dedication. Lou Myers, known for his role as Mr. Davis in 1987, was a character actor with a flair for comedy, yet his real-life struggles were anything but funny. Though he made audiences laugh, he faced numerous personal and financial challenges behind the scenes. He never publicly spoke about a wife or children, and there were no widely known romantic relationships in his life, leading many to believe he faced his struggles alone. Despite his long career in television and film, he never reached the financial security of some of his peers. His estate included personal belongings, theatrical memorabilia, and some financial assets, but he did not leave behind a fortune. Health issues plagued his later years, leading to multiple hospitalizations. His final days were difficult, as he suffered from pneumonia and heart failure. On February 19, 2013, at the age of 77, Myers passed away in Charleston, West Virginia. Joe Williams, who played Al Hanks in 1985, was a jazz legend whose powerful voice brought him fame, but his personal life was often lonely. Though widely celebrated for his music, his role in The Cosby Show was one of many small television appearances that showcased his versatility. He was married briefly, but his relationship ended in quiet estrangement, and he had no known children. Despite a successful career, Williams never amassed great wealth, though he owned a modest home and a collection of vintage automobiles, including a classic Cadillac that he cherished. He lived comfortably but not extravagantly, relying on royalties from his music. In his later years, he faced health challenges and financial disputes, as some relatives and associates sought control over his remaining assets. Although he continued performing, his health declined, leading to increasing isolation. On March 29, 1999, at the age of 80, Williams collapsed on a Las Vegas street and passed away due to natural causes. Bill Gunn, who portrayed Homer in 1986, was an extraordinary playwright, filmmaker, and actor, but his career was overshadowed by struggles with illness, industry discrimination, and financial instability. Though immensely talented, he never gained the widespread recognition he deserved. He never married and had no known children, instead dedicating himself to his craft. His personal life was marked by hardship, including battles with health issues and the difficulties of being a black artist in Hollywood during his time. Financially, he struggled throughout his life, leaving behind only a modest estate consisting of his scripts, personal writings, and a few possessions of sentimental value. His final years were tragic as he suffered from encephalitis, compounded by AIDS-related complications. As his health deteriorated, he withdrew from public life, spending his last days in relative seclusion. On April 5, 1989, at the age of 59, he passed away in Nyack, New York. Moses Gunn, who played Dr. Lotus in 1989, was a deeply respected actor with a commanding presence, yet his personal life was marred by sorrow. Known for his Shakespearean performances, Gunn's career never quite reached the financial heights his talent deserved. He lived modestly in his final years, residing in a quiet neighborhood rather than a luxurious estate. His vehicle was a simple, reliable sedan rather than a high-end car. Though he married his longtime love, Gwen Wells, their relationship was fraught with difficulties, particularly as his health declined. They had one son, Justin, but family tensions arose over Gunn's declining health and financial security. One of the great tragedies of his life was his struggle with chronic asthma, which often left him debilitated and impacted his ability to work. Additionally, he faced racial discrimination throughout his career, which limited his opportunities in Hollywood despite his immense talent. When he passed away on December 16, 1993, at the age of 64 due to asthma complications. Jerome Dempsey, who played Dave in 1991, had a career that, while steady, never provided him with immense financial security. His home was comfortable but unremarkable, and he lived a relatively low-profile life, avoiding the excesses of Hollywood. Dempsey was married but experienced a turbulent relationship, ultimately leading to estrangement in his later years. He had children, but they were not deeply involved in his life, particularly toward the end. A key tragedy in his life was his struggle with obscurity. Despite decades in the industry, he never became a household name, which left him with financial insecurity as he aged. Another sorrow was his declining health, which forced him into retirement earlier than he had wished. When he passed away on August 27, 1998, at the age of 69 from natural causes, his estate was modest, and little is known about the current status of his assets. Doris Belack, who played a saleswoman in The Cosby Show, 1984, had a long but often overlooked career in film and television. Despite her versatility, she was frequently cast in minor roles, never quite breaking into mainstream stardom. Her marriage to her husband, Philip Rose, was one of the few constants in her life, though their relationship was tested by long periods of separation due to work. They never had children, which left her feeling a deep sense of loneliness in her later years. Financially, she was stable but not wealthy, with her primary asset being a New York City apartment filled with personal memorabilia from her acting career. She battled health issues in her final years, with cervical cancer ultimately taking its toll. Toward the end, she withdrew from public life, rarely making appearances. Some of her estate, valued at around $1 million, was donated to charitable causes. She passed away on October 4, 2011, at the age of 85. Kristoff St. John, who portrayed David James in 1984, lived a life filled with highs and devastating lows. While he found fame and financial success, amassing an estate that included a home and personal assets, his wealth could not shield him from profound personal tragedy. He was married twice, first to Mia St. John and later to Alana Nadal, but both marriages ended in divorce, largely due to personal struggles and mental health challenges. He had 2 children, Julian and Paris, but his life was forever scarred by Julian's suicide in 2014, a loss from which he never truly recovered. His grief led to a downward spiral, marked by periods of depression and alcohol abuse. Another tragedy was his own battle with mental health, as he was in and out of treatment centers in his later years. When he passed away on February 3, 2019, at the age of 52 due to hypertrophic heart disease with alcohol as a contributing factor, he left behind a complex estate, with financial disputes arising in the years following his death. Sheldon Leonard, who appeared as Dr. Wexler in The Cosby Show, 1985, was a Hollywood powerhouse, working behind the scenes as a producer as well as an actor. Though he enjoyed immense success in the entertainment industry, his personal life was less stable. He was married, but his demanding career often kept him away from home, causing tension in his relationship. He was known for his sharp wit and business acumen, amassing a fortune through his television ventures, with his estate valued at approximately $4 million. His Beverly Hills home was filled with memorabilia from his career, including rare scripts and production notes from the shows he helped create. As he aged, he withdrew from the public, spending more time reflecting on his accomplishments rather than seeking new ones. His later years were quiet, though he remained well respected in the industry. He passed away on January 11, 1997, at the age of 89 due to natural causes. Al Freeman Jr., who portrayed Coach Ernie Scott in The Cosby Show, 1985, was a distinguished actor and educator, but his life was filled with struggles. Despite his undeniable talent, he often found himself typecast, limiting his opportunities in Hollywood. He was a private man, rarely speaking about his personal life, though it was known that his relationships were difficult and often short-lived. He never had children, dedicating most of his energy to his craft and later to teaching aspiring actors. Financially, he was not as well off as some of his peers, with his estate valued at approximately $1 million, primarily consisting of his Washington, D.C. home and a collection of theater memorabilia. He spent his final years mentoring students, trying to pass on the knowledge he had gained throughout his career. However, his declining health eventually forced him to step away from teaching. He passed away on August 9, 2012, at the age of 81 due to a non-communicable disease. Lena Horne, who played herself in The Cosby Show, 1985, was a trailblazer in the entertainment industry and a fierce advocate for civil rights. While her public image was one of grace and confidence, her personal life was far more complex. She was married twice, with both marriages facing significant challenges due to racial and social pressures of the time. The loss of her son, Teddy Jones, in 1970 was a devastating blow from which she never fully recovered. Though she had financial success, with an estate valued at around $20 million, her wealth did little to ease the emotional pain she carried. Her assets included a beautiful New York City home and a vast collection of jewelry and artwork, much of which was later donated to civil rights organizations. In her later years, she became increasingly reclusive, rarely making public appearances. She passed away on May 9, 2010, at the age of 92 from heart failure. George Grizzard, who portrayed Mr. Barker in 1985, was a distinguished stage and screen actor whose career was filled with critical acclaim, yet his personal life was far less celebrated. Though known for his commanding presence on Broadway, his television appearances, including The Cosby Show, provided him with financial stability rather than widespread fame. Grizzard never married and had no children, devoting himself entirely to his craft. He lived in a well-appointed New York City apartment, filled with rare books and theater memorabilia, but despite his financial comfort, he often spoke of the loneliness that came with a life spent in the pursuit of perfection. His estate, valued at around $1.5 million, was quietly distributed among close friends and family after his passing. In his final years, he suffered from lung cancer, a condition he fought privately until his health declined rapidly. On October 2, 2007, at the age of 79, he passed away due to complications from the disease. Samuel E. Wright, who portrayed Dr. Dan Morgan in 1986, was best known as the voice of Sebastian in The Little Mermaid, yet his life was filled with struggles beyond the cheerful persona he brought to the screen. His television role in The Cosby Show was minor, but his contributions to entertainment were vast. A devoted family man, he was married and had children, yet financial and career instability often put strain on his personal life. His estate, valued at approximately $1 million, included a home in New York and a treasured collection of musical instruments, but he never achieved the wealth of many of his peers. Despite his contributions to the industry, he struggled with being typecast and finding consistent work in later years. His final battle was against prostate cancer, a disease that slowly drained his strength. He passed away on May 24, 2021, at the age of 74. Clarence Williams III, who played Mr. Thornhill in 1985, was a gifted actor known for his intense performances, yet his personal life was marked by sorrow and solitude. Though The Cosby Show was a minor credit in his career, it added to his diverse television portfolio. He was once married to actress Gloria Foster, but their union ended in divorce, and he never remarried. The couple had no children, and after Foster's death, Williams became increasingly withdrawn. Despite a successful acting career, he never pursued extravagant wealth, living in a modest Los Angeles home with a collection of sentimental personal items rather than luxury possessions. His fortune, estimated at around $2 million, was small compared to Hollywood standards, and his estate was eventually managed by distant family members. His later years were overshadowed by illness, as he quietly battled colon cancer without revealing it to many in his circle. On June 4, 2021, at the age of 81, he succumbed to the disease. Art Blakey, who appeared as a drummer in 1986, was a jazz pioneer whose personal life was filled with struggle despite his musical genius. He owned a modest home in New York and had an extensive collection of jazz memorabilia, including rare records and instruments, but he never accumulated great wealth due to financial mismanagement and the unstable nature of the jazz industry. Married multiple times, his relationships often ended due to his relentless touring and struggles with addiction. He had several children, but his absence created emotional distance, leaving strained relationships. One of his greatest hardships was his long battle with heroin addiction, which affected both his health and career, costing him opportunities. Another sorrow was the decline of jazz's mainstream popularity, forcing him to take lower-paying gigs in his later years. When he passed away on October 16, 1990, at 71 from lung cancer, his estate was valued at around $500,000, with some of his cherished memorabilia donated to jazz education programs. Louis Nye, who portrayed Norman Kirby in 1987, was a beloved comedian who made audiences laugh but privately dealt with professional frustrations and personal struggles. He owned a modest home in Los Angeles and maintained a collection of comedy scripts and memorabilia, yet he never achieved the immense wealth that some of his comedic peers did. His long marriage, while stable, had its difficulties, as his dedication to comedy often took priority over his personal life. He had children, but his career focus created emotional distance. One of his greatest regrets was his inability to transition into dramatic roles, as Hollywood never took him seriously beyond comedy. Another was the fading popularity of his style of humor, which left him struggling for work in his later years. When he passed away on October 9, 2005, at 92 from lung cancer, his estate, valued at around $1 million, was distributed among his family, with portions donated to support comedy education. Robert Culp, who played Scott Kelly in 1987, was a talented actor whose career, though successful, never fully satisfied his ambitions. He owned a beautiful house in Los Angeles and collected scripts and memorabilia from decades in the industry, but his financial success was overshadowed by personal struggles. Married 5 times, his relationships often ended in divorce, leaving him feeling lonely in his later years. He had children, but his workaholic tendencies distanced them, making his family life complicated. One of the major disappointments of his life was being typecast in certain roles, never breaking into the A-list stardom he craved. Another hardship was his declining health, which forced him to slow down, something he deeply resented. When he passed away on March 24, 2010, at 79 from a heart attack, his estate was valued at approximately $5 million, with his family overseeing his assets and some contributions made to film preservation organizations. Ron Foster, who portrayed Herb Temple in 1987, was a Hollywood veteran, yet his career was overshadowed by his struggles behind the scenes. Despite his work in television and film, he never amassed great wealth, and his estate primarily consisted of his home, a few investments, and personal memorabilia from his acting days. A quiet and private man, Foster was married, but his relationship was strained due to his frequent career setbacks and health issues. He had children, but his bond with them weakened over time as he became increasingly withdrawn. Foster faced the heartbreak of being typecast, struggling to land roles that matched his capabilities, which led to bouts of depression. Another significant sorrow in his life was his declining health in later years, which made daily activities a challenge. As he aged, his wealth dwindled, and he relied on Social Security and minimal savings. When he died on February 26, 2015, at the age of 85 from a non-communicable disease, he left behind a small estate. Sammy Davis Jr., who played Ray Palomino in 1989, was a legendary entertainer whose dazzling career was often overshadowed by personal and financial troubles. He owned an extravagant Beverly Hills mansion and an extensive jewelry collection, but his fortune was drained by poor financial management, extravagant spending, and mounting debts. He was married 3 times, including to actress Mae Britt, but his relationship suffered from infidelity, racial tensions, and career pressures. He had children, but his demanding career and personal demons created emotional distance. One of the greatest struggles of his life was facing racial discrimination, as even at the height of his fame, he was denied opportunities and respect. Another was his severe financial troubles, with bad investments and IRS debt consuming much of his wealth. When he passed away on May 16, 1990, at 64 from throat cancer, his $5 million estate was largely consumed by debts. Who was your favorite member of the Cosby Show cast? Let us know in the comments. Over the years, we've said goodbye to many beloved stars, but their incredible performances continue to live on in our hearts. Their impact on television and the memories they created will never be forgotten. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on classic TV stars. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.